Welcome back. Have you ever seen one of those TV news segments where a reporter goes out on the street and asks random people some random basic questions that everyone should know the answer to? Like they show you a picture of the vice president and say, "Who is that?" and the people go, is he that guy in that movie where they did the, you know what I'm talking about? It's funny and pitiful at the same time. Well, in this lesson, Paul uses an Old Testament story that his readers would and should have known well, the story of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar from Genesis 16. He used it to make a powerful point about law and grace, slavery and freedom. Now, I'm sure you remember the story. God promised Abraham that he would have a son, but he and Sarah were both way past their childbearing years, and Sarah, his wife, was barren. After waiting and waiting many years, Sarah took matters into her own hands. And then she gave her servant Hagar to Abraham, and Hagar bore Abraham a son, named him Ishmael. This was an attempt to fulfill God's promise through human effort, but that wasn't God's plan. Years later, 10 as a matter of fact, Abraham was 100, Sarah was 90, and God miraculously gave them a son, called him Isaac. He was the child of the promise in the covenant, born through God's power, not human effort. Now listen how Paul uses this story in Galatians 4, verses 21 and 27. Tell me, you who want to be under the law, are you not aware of what the law says? For it's written that Abraham had two sons, one by the slave woman and the other by the free woman. His son by the slave woman was born according to the flesh, but his son by the free woman was born as a result of a divine promise. These things are being taken figuratively. The women represent two covenants. Paul says Hagar represents the covenant of the law of Mount Sinai. She was a slave, and her children are born into slavery. This represents trying to be saved by keeping the law. Sarah, on the other hand, represents the covenant of promise. She was free, and her son was born through God's promise, not human effort. This represents salvation by grace through faith. He explains how this applies to them. Now, you, brothers and sisters, like Isaac, are children of promise. At that time, the son born according to the flesh persecuted the son born by the power of the Spirit. It's the same now. But what does Scripture say? Get rid of this slave woman and her son, for the slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with the free woman's son. Well, we're like Isaac, children of promise. We're not born into slavery through our own efforts. We're born into freedom through God's promise. Just as Ishmael persecuted Isaac, those who rely on the law often persecute those who rely on grace. But what does Scripture say? Get rid of the slave woman and her son. The law and its children have no part in the inheritance. Only the children of promise will receive the inheritance. This passage presents two ways to live. One, the way of Hagar, trying to earn God's favor through your own effort, following rules and regulations, living under the law, which leads to slavery. Or two, the way of Sarah, trusting in God's promise, receiving salvation as a gift of grace, living by faith. This leads to freedom. Which way are you living? Are you trying to earn your way to God, or are you trusting in His promise? Are you living in slavery to the law or in the freedom of grace? As a believer in Jesus Christ, you are a child of the promise like Isaac. You are a child of the free woman. You have an inheritance waiting. Don't go back to slavery to the law. Live in the freedom Christ has given you. We claim the promise every day by the choices we make every day. Be sure you choose wisely based on your faith. See you next time.